What's up, guys? Detroit Pro was a really good show, great show yesterday, last afternoon and evening, and they did something very cool at the end of the show. I've never seen this done at a contest ever before. If you guys have, let me know. I've never seen this done. William Bonac, the men's open bodybuilding champion, and Matt Greggo, the Classic Physique champion, were brought back out after all the awards and everything to do comparisons. And there was an online poll, but let's take a look at that first. This is how it looked, man. So they ran this like a call out. Quarter turns. You know, obviously Matt has a much smaller waist. William is much more massively developed. He's probably got 20, 30 pounds on him, and he's a few inches shorter. Aesthetics, obviously, you know, the classic guy's going to have an advantage because that's what they're all about, is aesthetics. And if you go shot for shot, I'd give William that one, even though he doesn't have much of a V-taper compared to Matt. I would give this front lat spread to Matt. Give him that pose. I'll keep running this, guys, so you can let me know what you think. I'll run this again. Side chest, give that to Bonac for sure. Of course, I'm a meathead. You guys may feel differently. That's why we're live and I'm asking for your feedback. Rear double, I give that to William. He's got a much thicker back, denser, thicker legs. You know, I'm looking at like a bodybuilder though. So rear lat spread, geez, I don't know, man. I kind of like Matt in that one. I know William's got a wider, thicker back, but I like Matt in that shot. Side try, got to give it to the conqueror, William Bonac. Up top there was the poll, which we'll show you the results of in a second. Ab and thigh. So that's really not an ab and thigh. Either one is hitting. Matt's hitting a vacuum, and William is hitting like a serratus shot. Neither one of them hit the traditional abdominals and thighs pose. Most muscular. Well, yeah, I got to give that to William too. So those are all the poses. So that was that. Let's go to the poll results. If you saw that screen there, oh, they've still got a couple more poses left. Hang on. That's their favorite classic pose, or they're just their favorite pose. So they had a great time. It was just fun. It wasn't for a cash prize or a trophy or anything like that. So here were the results for people that voted. Okay, so make sure this is showing. Yeah, so it was King of Detroit, basically. That's what the question was. Who was the King of Detroit? And you could see there were 1,056 votes, which isn't many considering there were 132,000 people watching Fouad's live stream for free on his channel, Fouad Abiad Media. 392 votes, or 37% of the people voted for Matt Greggo, the Classic Physique champion, as their preferred physique. And open men's bodybuilding, William Bonac got 63% of the vote with 664 votes. Kind of in line with the popularity of the divisions, I think. I still think as popular as Classic Physique is, open bodybuilding is still a lot more popular. You could also argue that the people that were probably watching this live stream and following the show, probably more open bodybuilding fans would be my guess. Hard to say. Stop sharing that. But I want to hear what you guys think. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute. I'm going to leave the comparison up while we get some of your feedback. And I have a poll running up in the chat as well. If you guys want to vote on that, it'd be cool to see what you guys decide for your votes. All right, let's go to the phones. Desktop bodybuilding. This is Xavier Wills over there in Australia, where it's probably tomorrow morning or something, I'm guessing. He said, Greggo surprised me here as a top open pro. Yeah, I mean, we did get to see Chris Bumstead a few weeks after the Olympia last year, after his 6th Classic Physique Olympia win. We got to see him go up against Martin Fitzwater. And I think on the first day over there at the EVLS Prague show, he compared very, very favorably. More than a few people did say they had Chris winning. I know other people will say they're smoking crack. But you know what? People like what they like, and they like the aesthetics of Chris. His conditioning, they loved it, and he was significantly fuller. He was only a few pounds up from his Classic Physique stage weight, his weight cap, but it was enough to compare very, very favorably with Martin Fitzwater, who had just placed 3rd in the Mr. Olympia the same night that Chris won, the same weekend that Chris won the 6th Olympia title. Nowadays, the younger crowd follow classic guys more than open guys. In my gym, more people know Bumstead and Sullick than Dowd or Lunsford. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. My gym's exactly the same way. And, there isn't really much of I can't even talk bodybuilding, like open bodybuilding, with too many people at my gym. One of the only people that really follows it is the owner, Tim Dowling, over at Bayshore Athletic Club, Braintree, Mass. He still follows the sport avidly, and a few other people there, but not many. Whereas, I don't talk to a lot of the young kids, but if you go up to, I promise you, any gym in the U.S. or around the world, probably, you go up to young guys in the 18 to 24-year age range. Of course, they all love Bumstead. They all love Sullick. I mean, they live on their phones. They live on social media. And if you look at the social media numbers, Bumstead has, he might have like 30 million followers by now. Sullick actually gained like another 250,000 followers last week through that whole Tim Wilkins criticizing him debacle. So let's see. Bipolar mom chronology. We want to see the freaks of the industry run. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a favorite division. Like, I appreciate all the divisions, but my favorite is open bodybuilding. And after that, I would say 212 bodybuilding, classic physique are my next. And the other ones are kind of, I respect them all, but I don't really follow them except just to know who the very top people are. Like if there's a show and I'm at it and men's physique comes on, this is not being disrespectful. It's just not my cup of tea. That's when I'll get up and use the bathroom. Or bikini comes on, that's when I'll go out, use the bathroom, look at the vendors and grab, like a shot of a energy drink out there or something like that. Yeah. Kalyan Krishna, open bodybuilding any day. Agree. Oh, you're up early, Xavier. I hope you had your breakfast. 7:53 a.m. here. Oof. Not be pro. Open bodybuilding was the end show, so maybe people were watching Classic left the chat last year before the King of Detroit event happened. Yeah, I was wondering. I also didn't see the awards. I know that they had extra awards named after, like, there was one named after John Meadows. There was one named after Sean Roden, I think. There were a few extra awards, and I didn't see those being given out. I don't know what happened to that. But yeah, I agree. I think soon as William got his trophy and gave his little speech, I'm sure most people just filed out of the building. They probably didn't expect anything. And most people watching the webcast, the live stream, I should say, the video, they probably got out. They probably left too. Classic is bodybuilding 2.0. I mean, I kind of wish Classic had been around even earlier than it had. I think we would have seen a lot more great classic physique guys, obviously, because the division would have had more years to develop and flourish. I mean, it's only been around since 2016. It's come a very, very long way in 9 years. I think you guys would agree. Your mom's flip-flop. You're over there in Deutschland and you had to go to bed. I understand. You really like 212 more than classic? No, I didn't say that. I said open I like the best. And after that, I also like 212 and classic. But yeah, I mean, classic and 212 to me, I like them equally. 212 to me, it's bodybuilding. It's the same as open. It's just the guys are typically a few inches shorter and they have a weight cap of 212. They tend to be between 5'2" and 5'5", the 212 guys. Open guys, 5'5" to 5'10" or 11 is the average. You'll see some taller guys, but not too many. So judges should just judge fairly. Just because they're short doesn't mean they're worse. Well, I mean, the 212 guys are judged fairly. 212 is a shorter bodybuilder. Oh yeah, I mean, if there was a 6'4", he wouldn't turn pro. As anybody who's 6'4" and 212, I can't imagine there's any division they would have had enough muscle to turn pro. Not even men's physique, but you could turn pro in any division, and you're allowed to compete in any other division that you want to, as long as there's if there's a weight limit that you fall into. So if you turn pro as a men's physique, you could enter classic, you could enter 212 if you weigh 212 or less, or you could enter open bodybuilding shows. There's no restrictions on that. We see guys move up from classic to open and guys going from open to classic back and forth all the time. There was actually a guy in the open here, Bartley Weaver IV, who was a classic guy. I believe this was his open debut. Ryan says, if classic was around the time Lillard brought a Sean Ray, perhaps the sport would have been different. Yeah, I mean, they were kind of at a disadvantage. I'm also thinking about guys like Francis Benfato. To me, he would have been the greatest, certainly one of the greatest classic physique pros. Sean would have had to downsize a little. I think Lee wasn't that heavy, so he probably would have been right into the height and weight parameters for classic. my opinion, I think people like Urs have too much potential to stay in classic. Dude puts on size like crazy in the offseason. Sure, he has a clock shape. Yeah, you know what? He's going to need much better arms. I love Urs. I think he's got a phenomenal physique. I think he's such a cool young guy, great personality, so positive, so energetic. Posing is off the charts. The arms are not where they would need to be for open bodybuilding. He wouldn't do that well in open if he's standing next to guys like a Nick Walker with those 23-inch arms. Wesley said he's not doing the maybe tip the scale in favor of Greggo. It was a 1-point decision. I don't know, man. I had Wesley winning decisively during the daytime, after judging, I should say. But I was doing the play-by-play with Big Mike Cox, and we both agreed, there's a few hours here to go. We've seen people make changes. We've seen guys lose some water and come back sharper for the finals. And I think that's exactly what happened with Matt. I still could have given it to Wes. I don't think it was cut and dried. Greggo looked great compared to Bonac. His future's probably in the open class. Greggo would need a lot more mass. Not to say that he can't or won't build it. He's a young guy. So maybe a few years from now. Right now, he still has a lot of mass to do well in the open. Yes, he compared favorably to Bonac here in the pose down. I agree. He certainly doesn't look like he doesn't belong up there. But being realistic, in certain poses, you see, especially like when the standing relaxed, you see the mass differential between them. Does it take less PDs to stay a classic opposed to open class? If so, physique might be helped overall. Well, they all use gear and PEDs, the whole gamut. So does it take less PEDs to stay a classic? I would venture to say the doses are probably lower because they do have a weight cap in classic. They cannot grow out of that weight cap or else they're not allowed to compete. These guys are weighed in at every single show to make sure that they're in their weight cap. Like, Breon, the champ, was 180. I think they moved his cap for his weight class, for his height, to 187. So if he showed up and he was 189, they would give him like an hour, run around the building and try to lose it. But if not, you're out. You're not entering. You can't compete. Team Clayhar. Okay, Patty. Open bodybuilding, but I might be biased. Yeah, I'm kind of biased too, obviously. I've been following bodybuilding for almost 40 years now. No disrespect for Battle and Olympic goals in Metroflex or any better videos today on YouTube. Well, quality-wise, yeah, YouTube. If you look at the Gilco, this is Gilco, but if you look at their Instagram page, Gilco Productions, they're able to upload sharper quality onto social media, onto Instagram, than they are on YouTube for whatever reason. I think YouTube always loses a little bit of resolution. Sam kind of not really answered to Tim's comment on his video they posted today. It's in the first 2 minutes. I'll check it out later. Yeah, we're not talking about Sam right now. Thoughts of the MC speech about too much negativity in the space right now for clout? I kind of agree. Yeah, it's negativity always sells. It's an easy way to get attention. You even see it in marketing. I saw something on someone was trying to sell you on their course about how to grow your Instagram page as a fitness professional or fitness influencer. And one of the things on there there were only 3 main points, and one of them was you have to have a negative hook, like don't do this, or this will kill your gains, or you'll never lose fat, instead of get bigger, get leaner, positive type of message. The hook was you hook people with a negative line, and that's how we are. Negativity it's like the go-to for most humans. 90s or the special condition with size matter of pure fullness. Yeah, we didn't have. There was the mass monster era. There were plenty of huge guys, but you still had to be conditioned back then. You still do now. I don't put down the guys today. I think we have phenomenal crop of pros right now. We did have just this amazing group of talent in the 90s through the early 2000s with, Ronnie, Jay, Levroni, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, Vince Taylor, Nasser, Milos. We had some amazing competitors back then. I'm sure I forgot a few people. Urs was still as light as the last Olympics, so yeah, he can improve a lot. Yeah, see, Urs, he puts on all this weight and he gets big, but then he ends up looking pretty much the same every time he diets down, which I don't understand, because it looks to me like he is putting on new muscle. I'm going to check the poll, guys. Is there a poll? Where are the poll results? Oh. How do I look at the rest of the poll? No, I don't want to end the poll. I can only see William has 60% of the vote right now. Okay, so William's doing well. it's just me, but I think Urs has an oddly shaped front double bicep. It's just his arms aren't great. You know, he's got his back's come up. His back was a weaker point. He's brought his back up. His arms are better than they were. His back and his arms still not as great as they should be, could be. That's why he's not winning Olympia titles. I mean, that's where the arms he gets caught by other guys with far better arms, backs. Milos versus Bumstead in Classic Battle, I would pay to see. So Milos at his height. I'm surprised someone Superset Man is a channel I like a lot on YouTube, and he does those mock pose downs where he'll compare people from different eras, different generations, or even from current generations that have never faced off against each other. He does a great job with those. You hook people negative. Why does Sam Silks and C-Bump thrive? Oh, I'm not saying that doesn't work too. I mean, those are two guys who are a great example of, you know, you don't have to be negative. You can be positive and real and honest. And those two, that's why I think they're both very good for the sport, is they don't put negativity out there. They don't talk shit about people. They don't respond to negativity. They keep it positive and uplifting and motivating. Yeah, I mean, they're honest on days. They'll tell you, you know, I'm not feeling so energetic today or whatever. But overall, their messages is very positive, and the passion of what they do, the training and everything, it really comes through. Urs definitely did improve. His back looked way better. Oh, yeah, Urs is getting better and better. I mean, he turned pro. He was only 21 or 22 when he turned pro. He's still only like 26 now. How would Derek Lunsford do in a lineup with Ronnie, Kevin L., Cormier, and Flex? He'd compare, but I think all these names you just mentioned would beat him. I mean, Ronnie at his best would beat everybody right now. Kevin Leveroni at his best would probably beat everybody right now. Cormier, probably. Flex, definitely. You know, the Flex that won the 98 Arnold Classic was his best. That would just stomp all over everybody right now. Bodybuilders and Knights, the Phil Taylor had personalities, unique swag themselves, regardless of their accolades and placing, which sadly don't exist. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, these guys have their own personality and swag and stuff. It's, you know, we didn't have social media, so you didn't see every single aspect of their lives like you do now, which kind of takes away a lot of the mystique. And so I think we sort of had our own perception of what these guys were like without really knowing them. There were training videos and things like that, so you could get a good idea of some of them. But for the most part, I think we sort of ascribed these imaginary personalities to these guys. Urs has his own gym. I saw it. It's looking pretty kick-ass. He basically meant she bought all the best arm back for him. Real excited to see what he brings here. That's funny. So, you know, Brandon Curry. Obviously, you know who Brandon Curry is, Mr. Olympia and two-time Arnold Classic champ. He has a gym. I'm not sure what it's called now. It was called Carbon Culture. There were two of them. But he handpicked all the equipment for the second one, which is a larger gym in Murfreesboro. That's the town or the city that he lives in. And I remember there wasn't a lot of arm training equipment. There was a lot of leg training equipment, back training equipment. Because his arms are so spectacular, he probably wasn't prioritizing arm equipment when he was checking out what to get for the place. In my humble opinion, Leveroni is one of the most overrated bodybuilders ever. I mean, I guess if you're saying that because, you know, he wasn't a full-time bodybuilder, he didn't train hard all year, he took months off of training and juicing and all that, which is why he's in amazing health right now. He looks great. His face looks young. You know, he's 60 years old, I think. He looks fantastic. Had he been blasting gear and training hard, he'd probably be walking around with a lot of injuries and aches and pains and looking weathered and aged. These class guys look more like bodybuilders these days. Oh, Giles and I are doing a power hour tomorrow, and we're going to talk about men's physique, because those are the guys that have really, really gotten a lot bigger than they used to be in a major way. 93 Arnold Flex was the best. Yeah, that was a smaller version of him. He was 216 at that show, I believe, where later on he would compete between 240 and 250 for the most part. But that was a look that a lot of people really preferred over the later versions of Flex, because he was so much so the detail in the muscles, every little fiber, Christmas tree. The glutes were actually even in for one of the only, I think that might have been the only time they were ever in for him. It was bad. We just didn't know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I remember Ian Valliere caught a lot of crap a couple of years ago for saying the same thing, that he thought Leveroni was overrated, and he just didn't see how he was considered one of the greatest physiques of all time. I didn't like every single one of Kevin's poses. Like, I was never a fan of his front double bicep. Front lat spread, I wasn't crazy about. His side poses were incredible. It's most muscular. Back shots were really good. Could have been way better if he would trained all year round. Yeah, I mean, he did it his way though. He wasn't Kevin. Kevin does things his way. He doesn't follow the crowd. Doesn't do what everyone else does. So I admire that about him. He doesn't bow down to convention. Everyone's the opposite from me. Makes me want to be at least 315. Well, Kevin was never 315. I think the heaviest Kevin ever was about 280, and he hated it. He was very uncomfortable. Paul Bartlett, what's up? Wesley looks exactly what classic bodybuilding in the year of our Lord 2025. He's the only guy who looks classic to me. Well, maybe I should put that up since we're talking about that. I know we got this going, but let's put something else on. Because a lot of people are upset that Wesley got beat. And I get it. Wesley looked freaking great. Men's physique for me really is not interesting at all. Main thing about it is proportion. They have 0 legs. Actually, a lot of them do have legs. You can't really see it. You can see it now because the trunks or the board shorts, they're much, much tighter than they used to be. They're super tight. They're not loose board shorts like people would actually wear to the beach. I think they're like Lycra spandex and they hug the body. So you can see a lot of these guys do have pretty good legs, but the upper bodies on some of them have gotten just as big and in some cases bigger than the top classic physique guys. I like that they let Williams and Matt get voted on by people. They should let the guys and girls get voted on. Kevin a few years ago was doing promo for something. Oh, Kevin is a great guy. I mean, the reason Kevin's supplement company has done so well, especially overseas, is because he used to tour Europe every year. He'd go to many, many countries, and he still does. He still travels the world constantly. And, a lot of his customers for a supplement company now are people that he met at seminars, expos, contests 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Ronnie, 2001, Arnold Classic, and 2003 Olympia, the greatest physiques of any class ever stage. Why haven't anybody looked at this song? Yeah, I mean, why we have generational athletes. I think Ronnie Coleman was a generational athlete. We're not going to see another Ronnie ever again. We've had some great people since then. I mean, Jay was great in his own way, Phil Heath. But Ronnie was just something very, very special. Even here is dumb. I don't think he's dumb. You might say he's rude, but he's not a dumb guy. They're so huge in the upper body. Talking about men's physique, they really should. Well, they were. I thought they put weight limits on these guys. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like they have because we'll talk. I'm going to talk about with Giles tomorrow. We're going to really get into it. I met Kevin L. Dennis Newman. I was in the Navy at Little Creek Amphibian Base tonight. Wow, yeah, Dennis Newman. Talk about not an uncrowned Mr. Olympia. His pro career was cut short because he got leukemia. He beat cancer and he came back, but he was never really the same after that. And unfortunately, he got cancer right after he had won the USA. I think he actually had the cancer when he won the USA, and it wasn't diagnosed for a couple more months after that. Classic division should be who looks classic. I don't have no clue. This judge scoring at spirit of the division, bro. My opinion, one of the best. Jay Cutler brought the best package ever in 2009. Oh, the quad stomp picture of Jay it's epic. That's one of the most famous, iconic bodybuilding photos of all time. With MD, the magazine I was with for 20 years, we had that on the cover twice, 2 different versions of it. And Jay sells that poster. If you go to any show that he's making an appearance at, he sells the poster of the quad stomp picture. It's the MD cover. I say it's highly inserted lats, no taper. The ab and thigh is bad compared against Greggo. Yeah, I thought Wesley had him on some shots. See, here's tough because Wesley had a better upper body in general, but the lower body, especially from the back, his legs look so weak there, so thin. The side, they don't look great. From the front, they don't look as bad. Matt has better legs, no doubt about that. But from the front, the difference isn't that dramatic. It's not. But from the side and really from the back, Matt's legs were just like twice the size. Funny enough, Ron, Dave Palumbo just came out with a video saying he thinks William is back. William is back? Who's William? Oh, who are we talking about, William? William Bonac is back? I mean, he just won a show. He was only gone. He quit competing for a year. I mean, he was away for a year. So last year, they probably want to make things free to get more people into sport hardcore. Yeah, I mean, they need the money. I mean, Fouad gave up a lot of money. Now, I don't think he would have gotten as many views. He got 140,000 views roughly on that free live stream. So let's say he only got 50,000 if he'd asked people to pay. I've never seen him cheaper than 20, but let's just say it was 20 and he made it really cheap. 50,000 times 20 would be $1 $1 million? Yeah, he would have made, is that right? 50,000 times 2 was 100. Yeah, he would have made $1 million off the live stream if 50,000 people had bought it at at $20 a pop. Bodybuilder got robbed the most. Who got robbed the most? Probably Menzer. I mean, Platz, his upper body never matched the lower body. He was very bottom heavy. Menzer, he won a pro show or two. I thought he got done dirty at that Olympia, and also he won the Mr. Olympia heavyweight class in '79, but he lost the overall to Frank Zane. And I've seen the photos of that. I would have given that overall to Menzer, honestly. Nasser, I mean, he only got robbed really at that one show, the '97 Olympia. And people still argue that Dorian rightfully beat him there. But Nasser won a bunch of shows. He won the Arnold. He won the Night of Champions. Won a lot of Grand Prix shows. I should go up and build those legs with the classic look. Yeah, I mean, Wes would need another, I'd say like another 20 pounds. He's like 240, 245 or something. He would realistically need about 20 to 30 more pounds, and the legs would have to be much, much bigger. Much bigger than that. Dave said he thinks William is as good as ever. I mean, I disagree with that. That's, I disagree. Bonac is down to 55%. So Greggo is almost neck and neck with him in our poll that we're doing. Yeah, Tom Platz in 81 and Victor Martinez 07. Yeah, I mean, the Olympia used to have pretty shady, pretty biased, pretty corrupt judging. It did for years and years, for decades. So if you guys are recent fans, you're lucky because you don't see people getting robbed anymore at the Olympia like it happened many, many times. I mean, 72 Olympia, Arnold beat Sergio Oliva, probably the best version of him ever in Germany that year. And the excuse that the judges gave was Sergio's skin was too dark and it blended in with the black backdrop, the black curtain. So that's a pretty racist thing to say. William Bonac, compact version of Kai Green. I mean, they're very similar. They have a lot of similarities, those two. But yeah, I mean, I hope William doesn't get upset. When I'm saying I don't think he's as good as he ever was, he's still very good, and he was good enough to beat all these guys. So it doesn't matter if you're not as good as you were last week or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, if you're still good enough to beat all the guys that show up and compete against you on a given day. Labrada got robbed. He was leading Haney in the judging. Yeah, I mean, that's in 1989. In 90, I know he was. I'm not sure if he was in 89, but those are the 2 years in a row. Labrada got second to Lee Haney at the Olympia. And he certainly outconditioned in both years. Labrada had far better condition than Haney those years. It's a mix between the blade, but more. Overall shape and structure, Dexter had a superior one. Dexter was, one of the greats of all time. He won the most pro shows out of anybody. He won 5 Arnold Classics, won the Olympia. A lot more research to kind of find Arnold's a bit of a snake. Did a lot of shady stuff in his bodybuilding career. I mean, yeah, probably. King of Detroit, I'm going to get out of that because we don't care. Bonac has lost another point. He's got only 54% of the vote from you guys right now. If Keon goes to open ad size, you see him being a dominant Mr. O. Yes, I do. I actually do. Maybe I should put him up. Yeah, I got all these things. Why not? Got a lot of video clips loaded up to go. I just have to find them because I have a lot of clips loaded. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I believe Keon will move to open. And, I don't know about dominant. I don't know if we're ever going to see a guy win 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Olympias in a row ever again. I don't know if we ever will, but I'm fairly certain Keon is more than capable of winning the Mr. Olympia once he outgrows the 212. I heard he was only 200 pounds here, 200. So I think a 220-pound Keon, which 20 pounds is a lot of muscle for a guy who's like 5'5". 20 more pounds, and I see him being Mr. Olympia. Just like Derek. Derek was a 212 guy. He was like 210, 212, and he's probably like 235 now, maybe 240. For Dexter Physique over Cutler. Yeah. Prime Dexter was crazy. Yeah, I was very fortunate to see almost all his pro shows. At least, I didn't see the ones overseas, the Grand Prix tours and things like that, but I was at a lot of the Olympias, a lot of the Arnolds that he was in, and I got to watch him come up through the ranks, from the early days when he had just turned pro all the way till he retired at, 51? he had a hell of a career, man. I mean, no, I don't think we're ever going to see another career like that where somebody competes for. See, his first pro show was 99 and his last was like 2022. So it was a well over 20-year pro career, and he was at the top of his game. He was still winning shows. He was still placing very high at the Arnold and the Olympia. Definitely will see him dominant champion one day. I mean, yeah, I don't know if we'll be alive to see it. Maybe it'll be like 30 years, 40 years from now. Maybe some younger guys will be alive. I don't think I'm going to be around in 40 more years. They would have given you the nastiest looks. Oh, imagine after Haney got 8 Olympias, some dude would say, hey, yeah, this dude named Ronnie is going to tie him. Well, that would be a time traveler who would have done that. You'd have to be a time traveler. Every generation talks like this. They think their generation is the best. I agree. That's it. If you talk to anybody, they think, fans of basketball, football, whatever, when they were young and they were the most fervent, rabid fans of that sport, whatever sport they follow, they'll tell you that was the best era for football, baseball, basketball, and they'll rattle off guys like, Jordan or, I don't know, Hank Aaron or, whatever. The people who they feel were the greatest players of all time just happen to be the ones that were the best during the era that they were young guys going to the games and watching every game on TV. So look at the poll now. I'm going to close it soon. 56 up. Bonac just picked up another couple points from you guys. Thank you. Yeah. Every time I have to leave, it's because I have to walk my dog. I walk my dog twice a day. He gets a lot of walks. I'll put the original clip up that we had there. Matt versus Bonac. Yep, there we go. So, not a lot of people talking about Krizo. Yeah, he's doing Pittsburgh Pro. He's going to be up there with Derek Lunsford, Nick Walker, Martin Fitzwater. Bonac said he was doing that show. Good Vito's doing that show. Pittsburgh's going to be off the chain. And I wouldn't say I'm bummed, but I'm not going to be able to follow the show that day because my son is competing in the NPC Natural Massachusetts that day. And there's no way in hell I'm missing my son's show. I'm his coach. I'm his dad. Even the Pittsburgh Pro is not enough to tear me away from that show. I really think changed the last 3 years. We wouldn't get top 5 in 20 years ago. Yeah, I mean, we could debate that all day, but I tend to agree. But, I'm older and I'm biased, so I can't say. I prefer Palumbo's physique over Lenny's, though. As much as people have ripped on Dave Palumbo's physique, and I've even done it, but, he'd be a pro now. To see the people that are getting pro cards in some of these other divisions, especially, like Fit Model. I hate to rip on Fit Model, but I'm going to. They're women that look like they really just started training, and they're getting pro cards where Dave was this massive 285-pound freak on stage. No, he didn't have great shape or aesthetics or anything like that, but he just had a shit ton of muscle and he came in shredded. He never got a pro card. 25, to be honest, why don't I feel Heath is lackluster? Yeah, I mean, not all the young guys are just into the young bodybuilders. It's really stupid of Derek to do Pittsburgh 3 shows in one season. Is really pushing it. I'll tell you, if he wins Pittsburgh and he gets his Olympia title back, it was the greatest move of all time. If he loses the Olympia, or let's say he wins Pittsburgh, which he's probably going to, but then he doesn't win the Olympia, we'll look back and say that was a dumbass move. You should never have done it. So time will tell. It's cool to be a good dad. I try to be a good dad, man. It's Christmas for competition. Thank you, Christian. Dave's mass wants to have the genetics. Thank you, smart clearance to the human body. He had genetics for putting on mass, and he was a hyper responder to PEDs. He just didn't have a great bone structure. He had a very wide waist. That was really the main thing. Is his waist and his hips were enormous. His joints were just pretty big, even though he started out a very skinny guy. But he did have great genetics for adding raw muscle mass, and he was a great responder to the gear and the GH. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna take off because my doggy needs a walk. He's been holding his poop. He's a good boy. I love my branch. So I'm gonna close the poll. And the results were 57% of you preferred William Bonac. I'm going to end the poll right now. But if you guys are watching this on the replay, tell me in the comments, who do you like better, Matt Greggo or William Bonac? Completely up to you, eye of the beholder. There is no wrong answer. You don't have to say which division you like, but out of these 2 physiques, what do you prefer? It's not who you want to look like. It's who do you think is the best? Anyway. Anyway, all right, guys. So that is it. I thank you all for watching so much. I'm going to take this thing off and say goodbye to you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great Sunday. And tomorrow, look out for a new episode of Power Hour with Giles Togger, Thomas, and myself. We're going to go over Detroit Pro. We're going to talk about Sam Sulek being viciously maligned by Tim Wilkins on Primetime Muscle, those comments. And we're going to talk about men's physique. Have they gotten too big? Giles and I kind of think so. We'll talk about it. So join us tomorrow, guys. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.